Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
This should be really fun, actually, and we're sharing a mic, so we do love each other. But I would prefer to have my own mic than being this close to you. So if I'm not looking straight at the camera, sometimes it's because I kind of have to face the mic, and we rather sacrifice being this close so that we could get good audio.
That's right.
I mean, I don't mind being this close to you.
Oh, good, good. 2 years in, and I'm glad that that's the case.
So
That's what's up.
this is my husband and the father of Nuda, Mustafa. And he's a pretty awesome person on Instagram, so you should definitely check him out. You probably have if you follow me because I repost him all the time because he's that good.
Wow.
Even if you weren't my husband, there's some things that you say that I would repost. Like,
Wow.
I really, really would mean that.
I love you.
And we had a baby about, how
16
many
days ago.
16? No.
Yes.
Today?
Yes.
The 9th and today's the 25th?
Yeah.
Wow.
9 plus 16 is 25.
That makes me a little sad. I feel like she doesn't look like a newborn anymore, and it's hurting my everything. It does go really fast, and I always give you guys some context about what's going on. Mustafa is on day 3 of Ramadan already. Wow.
That's fast.
That's fast.
That's fast.
And he broke fast, and I made some potatoes and some dinner, and we both have tea. I'm drinking some raspberry tea, leaf tea.
Cheers.
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 With cranberry aloe. He's having some Herbalife peach tea. He needs a little caffeine. That's really hot, so be careful. With aloe and immunity essential. And if I sound a little stuffy, I was a little stuffy, and I'm getting so much better. And today, let's get right into it. I have asked you guys after posting about my birth story, and the last episode was about my birth story. If this is the first episode that you listened, I gave birth at home, or at my friend's house, I should say. I had a home birth, unmedicated, natural home birth, and there was a lot of questions, and I had asked for specific questions for you. But first, I want to start it off within, if you can put into, because you're a speaker, that 5 minutes is a long time, but 5 to 8 minutes about like your perspective when I told you I wanted a home birth. A lot of people were curious about that, or like even about the birth, like if you had to give a little background. By the way, if you hear any background noise or if we have to pause at any moment, it's because we have a bigger responsibility now, which we're not mad about. We're so grateful.
That's right. Yeah, no, I think the thing that I found most intimidating about the whole idea of a home birth was you were saying, would you be willing to catch the baby? I'm like, catch the baby? Like with your blood on it and stuff? That's kind of weird. I'm not gonna lie. So I think that was the first thing that was a little bit intimidating. But it took a lot of education to really understand why, what's the difference. And I think the biggest thing that really convinced me, it's a simple line, but the business of being born.
He didn't even finish it, by the way. And
I saw enough. I saw 20 minutes and I was like, oh, I don't need to watch anything. Like, I don't need to watch anymore. I totally get it. But it was one line where they said, if you think about everything we've ever seen since we were children up to now in movies and all things explaining childbirth, anytime a woman is about to have a baby, it's painful. They literally call it, she's in labor. Right? Like, think of the word labor itself. It's this like grueling, screaming, everyone's panicking. It's a rush. It's a painful experience where it's different when you just simply say, I'm having birth or I'm giving birth. It's like this concept of new life versus this exhausting, painful thing. So I realized at that moment that we were definitely programmed to buy into the concept that this has to be the most painful, gruesome thing that you will ever experience. And that's it. So I was like, okay, no, let me be more open-minded now about what you were saying and why home birth you were so passionate about. Because granted, this didn't just happen at the time you were pregnant. You've been talking about natural birth for at least 7 or 8 years. But I didn't think about it because we were never pregnant. So it was like, oh yeah, no, I don't got to think about that. But when it came this close to it, 6 months in, I was like, okay, let me sit down and pay attention. So I got to say, at first, the idea of catching the baby with the blood, that I know, sorry if I sound immature about that, but that definitely just had me thinking like, yo, what? Now, I don't know if I could do that. But then, of course, getting educated, for some of you who saw the picture, I was probably closer to the action than the midwife herself. I was
Than myself,
right there.
actually.
Yeah, that's true. I was right there. I was a foot and a half, 2 feet away from how it went down. So yeah, but overall, very grateful for it.
It's funny because in English it's a different thing, and now that you say that, like, one of the things that they say is that they make this thing even in movies and in pictures, like everyone's screaming and it's the most painful thing. And I'm not saying it's a breeze. It comes with it. It's part of the experience that you're meant to have, and then you're meant to experience. Like one of the classes that I took, the girl said, "This is a marathon. You're gonna run your marathon," and that's what I kept telling myself because I had a 32-hour labor. It was like, run your marathon. But yeah, in the movies and stuff, my nephew, who's 10 years old, was like, "Nina, as soon as your water break, you need to rush into the hospital. You need to tell Mr. Gunham to rush into the hospital." I was like, "Where'd you see that?" He's like, "In a movie." So it's always made this like horrible, most painful, like there's a woman yelling and like, ah. And by the way, me pushing out the baby, I did not yell once actually pushing out the baby. But in Spanish, I was going to tell you, instead of saying going into labor, it's actually a beautiful thing. They say, vas a dar a luz, like you're going to give light. And when you are like in birth, like birthing, it's called like alumbrando, which is like lightening up.
That's powerful.
So it's very different wording in Spanish than in English. But yeah, I sent him a video of a friend that I had where the dad literally sitting down and catches the baby before training him on anything. So I kind of did mess up on my part. I kind of took it too far.
A little bit. Yeah.
But then as we got educated, I even asked him today, I said, "Hey, would you have, if you were a woman, would you have given birth the way I did?" And his answer was?
Yeah, for sure. Thank God I'm not a woman, though. I mean,
I want to be a woman in any other life.
Shout out to the females, but yeah.
And what about the actual birthing experience? Like the 32 hours and...
So first off, let me not downplay how exhausting, long, tiring that experience was, right? If I could do it over, I would have ignored probably the first 10 hours even more, because I think we ignored 4 to 6 hours, because contractions started at about 4 o'clock. And it was about 10 o'clock when we said, all right, let's start getting ready to head over. And so that's 6 hours of saying, all right, cool, no big deal. I would have added another 10 to that, at least for a first timer. But
like you would have done those other 10 here.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I'm a creature of habitat, meaning my safe space is my home. I don't feel safe anywhere I go. I don't care where it is. It's crazy. I used to live at my mom's house. When I go back there now, I don't feel safe there. Like my home is my safe space. And so when I'm anywhere outside of my safe space for an extended period of time, I already get irritable. I'm like, man, I feel like I'm walking on eggshells. I can't just like walk and breathe and do my thing. And naturally, because I try and be so accommodating and mindful of other people in the space, I get extremely exhausted as a result of that. So I would have waited at least another 10 hours. I think that would have been a better thing for us to do, and it wouldn't have put us in panic mode around, oh my God, birth is about to happen right now. But I will say at the same time, we also have all along said that your birth was going to be incredibly easy. We weren't panicked. We weren't stressed. We were taking this super nonchalant and just easy going. We didn't start really preparing until maybe 6 or 7 months, or 6.5 months, I would say. So
no, not even less. We didn't get a midwife till I was like 34 weeks.
But that's what I'm saying. We were super nonchalant throughout the whole process. So that is probably the reason why we rushed, over there. But
wait, hold on. I don't think we rushed. I think
that we
just didn't anticipate a 32-hour labor.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. It's because the whole time, that's what we were affirming. We were saying it's going to be a seamless process. We don't got to worry about that. We're not claiming those things. And I was very headstrong about that I wasn't affirming that my child was going to be... You just hear stories about, oh, you're going to lose sleep. You're going to lose motivation. You're physically, your body's going to go to complete waste and shambles. And I wasn't affirming that. Throughout the whole pregnancy, I was saying, that's not going to be my experience. I'm just going to have a better experience. I don't believe that. So there goes the yin and the yang, if you will. Part of it was that's what I was believing all along. So yes, I rushed over. But at the same time, if I could do it again, I wouldn't rush over because that 32 hours was long. I mean, we literally were awake the entire time with the exception of maybe 1 to 2 hour naps. Like the
Wait,
whole
combined, yeah. Not like a 2 hour nap.
Yeah, that's what I'm
like
saying.
we took like a 15 and then like a 20, like that.
Well, yeah, there was one period in the morning where when Jenna told us she was coming at night, it was like, all right, cool. We got to rally the troops. And I love that. That's my favorite thing about not the whole thing, but Jenna's interaction with us, which is the midwife, when she was just saying, all right, this is the plan. You got to get some rest, get some food, get some water, get some sleep. And we're going to do this. Not like we're going to do this, but be prepared for tonight. That's when I'm coming, unless I have to come sooner. So I think that helped us to think about it later. So I don't want to downplay that part. That part was difficult, especially when you're at home. I think you have to carry a lot of the weight and the responsibility and the communication, and it's on you, especially as the father. So that I took very serious, as you can tell. But she was here in literally a matter of 3 minutes. So once, and you heard the story in her last episode, but once she went to the bathroom, in a matter of 3 minutes, Nura was here. So
literally her head came out and 43 seconds later her body
came out. So that was probably the most surreal moment of my entire life, to see the baby come out. And I'll never forget the smell. I think it was like it was just a pulsing hot smell. Of course, there was blood on my shoes. I don't know if she told you about that, but
I didn't.
Yeah. So because we went to the bathroom casually. She's like, oh, you have to empty your bladder. Go to the bathroom. And because of her contractions, she needed someone to always lean on or hold her back every couple of minutes. So for whatever reason, I just went with her that time. We didn't think nothing of it. She was going to the bathroom, for God's sake.
Thank God you went, because the time I went to the bathroom before that, I went with my doula.
Yeah.
And the bathroom's so small, if you guys saw the picture, that it would have been her in all the pictures.
Yeah. So here I am, casually, sneakers on, just, I'm like in a squat position, and I took maybe a 30-second nap, just closed my eyes. And then the lights were off, and then I just remember that glaring look in her eyes when the lights go. She's like, I was like, oh my God, what is that? And then the push, and the rest is history, man. So some blood came out, it fell on my sneakers, and I was like, yeah, I'm never cleaning that. I'm gonna keep the blood, my daughter's blood, on my dad's shoes, just to really stamp it. But 3 minutes, incredible. You did an amazing job. I think I've said that many, many times, but I'll say that here publicly. I think you're really, really brave, strong, and courageous to be able to navigate that whole experience on your own. So that was awesome. And then,
well, not on my own. I don't know if I would have done it without you guys. Like, literally everybody was synchronized to the point where I thought Mustafa was calm and collected the whole time. And we had 2 doulas. One came the first day, and then there was Jenna the second time. And the first day was Chloe, and she later on, after like a few days after I gave birth, said, hey, I have some pictures for you. And she sends me the pictures and the videos, and I don't remember from the pictures and the video that she sent. I don't remember me being in those positions or anything. And Mustafa, in all the pictures, he's like this, or so concerned. And I was like, wait, were you worried? And then he tells me that he was, but he started to talk to Jenna and stuff, and she basically like calmed him down. But he was very worried at first. But in the pictures and the videos I have, he's just helping me like everyone else. Like him, my mom, and my doula actually made a joke that their hands, but it wasn't a joke, that their hands hurt from so much massaging me. And it was like we were all in one energy. For me, it felt like that. And I'm so grateful, even though at the end, like Musa was like, I was worried. And my mom was like, I went to the bathroom 3 times crying hysterical to God to please like speed this up for you. And Anisha, I'm going to bring her into the podcast, but for her, she looked pretty calm and collected until the video of actually birthing. Like the midwife's like, what time is it? And she's like, like literally in the video, she can't even say the time. She's like 23. And I'm not going to give you the minutes anyway. And Mustafa was the one who called out the time. He looked at his watch. But I just want to say, like, you didn't look too calm and collected at first in those pictures.
Yeah. No, I mean, because when you're there, you're thinking about, like I said, you're thinking about what decisions do I make, and how do I make sure that we're doing what's right for your health, the baby's health, and everything else. Because it's not like you're at a hospital where you're being counseled and advised on, all right, here's what's happening, here's an update. You got to think about it. With the exception of 4 or 5 hours, we were there alone. All right, so we were going through that whole process by ourselves. Chloe was there for a couple hours. Jenna was there for a couple hours until the baby arrived, and then she had to do like her aftercare. So with the entirety of the time, it was on us to determine is what's happening, is this safe, is this not safe, what's going on. So I think that's what brought the stress. But overall, I will say, of course, a surreal experience. First time I held her, just to see feel that it was like such a beautiful connection and how warm her body was. Like it was crazy. So I think that was awesome. As a first time dad, I was definitely grateful for that moment. So yeah, that was a beautiful feeling.
And then your mom came in right away after to cut the umbilical cord.
Yeah.
But I didn't get to see his mom and his aunt come in, and it wasn't recorded. And I really wish it was recorded.
Yeah. My mom panicked. So basically,
we didn't tell him nothing, by the way.
No, I told him the baby was here when I called.
Yeah, but we didn't tell anybody that we were in labor. And thank God we didn't, because it was such a long labor that if we had told them that we were already feeling contractions, yeah, well, me, but you were there also, that we were feeling all that we were feeling, it would have been very, I don't want to use the word annoying, but oh my God, the amount of people that would be
put them on anxiety.
Texting and calling Mustafa and my mom, my mom kept telling everybody that I was sleeping. And people were like, just 2 days sleeping? Because my mom is such a bad liar. She's like, oh, she's snapping. Oh, she's sleeping. But yeah, I'm very grateful that we didn't say anything till the end, just because it was so long that nobody knew it was going to be that. We were over it. So imagine people texting us.
Yeah, for sure. No, it was a good decision. Even my mom said it after. She was like, I'm kind of glad that you guys did the right thing, because having people in anticipation for 32 hours, that's tough. So for them to know, obviously, I'm pretty sure they knew, because I told them, oh yeah, she's having contractions. Nothing yet. And I put my phone on Do Not Disturb. I wasn't really answering calls. But every so often I would, send an update, or I would respond or call back. So just to keep them safe, or, keep them at peace, I should say. But yeah, once they got the call and they came over, that was cool. I mean, my mom walked into the living room and she was just like she just panicked seeing her in my arms. So she started crying. My aunt, she also panicked for a second, but then came over and, embraced her. So that was cool. But yeah, beautiful experience for sure.
Okay, so
we're already 18 minutes in. We didn't even get to the questions yet.
I know, I have the questions, but some of them are very quick. I wanted them to hear your side, because there's 2 sides to every. There's actually 6 sides of that story. There's your side, my side, my mom's side, Jenna's side, Chloe's side, and Danisha's side.
Yeah.
Everybody had a different experience. But I'm so grateful. I would not change my birth. My mom said she won't be there the next time because she can't see me suffer like that. I'm like, girl, you're part of my birth team. You have to be there. Okay, so we have some questions that you guys asked. Some were repetitive, but let's take it away. Try to answer it. How does it feel to be a first-time dad?
Amazing. I've been preparing for this my whole life. Literally, no exaggeration. I'm Middle Eastern. I'm Muslim, and for those of you who come from our culture, and especially if you're the only child, you're the only boy, let alone that you're groomed for one thing, and that's marriage, and then having your own family one day. So I got that experience kind of early when my father passed, and I had to step up and be the man of the house. But it wasn't fully my responsibility in a sense, right? Because obviously my mom still made decisions alongside with me until I got to a position where I can really manage and take care of our home. But in this position, this is my child, right? And I say my, not to push you out of the picture, but there's another level of responsibility and ownership that you can take when it's literally your child. So it's incredible. I'm blessed. It's still early. I'm one of those people that doesn't like to, speak too soon and really cover their candle. It's another one of those Middle Eastern kind of, what do they call those?
Tradition?
Yeah, like parables. That's a Middle Eastern parables. Like cover your candles so that the light may forever shine or whatnot. So, yeah, I'm incredibly grateful.
What was your first initial reaction when you saw her?
At first, I thought she was a boy. I really did. I think, and Lou said the same thing when Bella came out, because the umbilical cord sometimes comes right down the center of the leg, and so you're like, wait a second, is that a boy? And but no, that was the umbilical cord. But I thought of how much resemblance she had to my cousin's baby who was born just 4 months ago. So I was like, wow, she looks so much like my cousin's baby. So that, like, a few different thoughts cross your mind when you're thinking about the look and, the anticipation, and you're taking notice of all of her different features. But yeah, definitely you're thinking about the baby, like, wow, the baby's here. And part of it still feels a little
Very
surreal.
surreal.
Yeah, you're like, oh, okay, this is it. This is actually what we created.
We thought that he was gonna cry and that I was gonna cry. I cry a little like 3 minutes later, but I cry thanking God. I literally say thank you, God, because the pain is over. Like I still don't have at that moment. I'm still not fully realizing that she's here. I mean, I literally cry out of like gratefulness that the pain is over. Um, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, but what I was gonna say was that neither of us cried right after because we were both so happy that
The
it was
relief, yeah.
over. We were like, yes, we did it. So even in the pictures and stuff, I was smiling. I'm so out of it because I told you guys in the last episode that I was like in full meditation mode. Um, biggest takeaway from experiencing your home birth?
So I noticed, I feel like God taught me a lesson throughout the process where it was really a lesson about patience, because, and again, it's one of those things where, yes, you want to be able to affirm and call out to God your wishes and your desires, but never confuse that your desires will take place of his plan. What he has in place for you, or what he laid out, is what's going to happen at the appropriate hour, at the appropriate minute, and that's just how it's going to be. And so, yes, all along, although we've been affirming a very quick, easy, short birth, that's not exactly what happened. And so the entire time, in labor for 30 plus hours, let's just call it 32 hours, for 31 and a half of those hours, I was impatient. It was like, oh my God, like, when is it going to happen? No, soon. All right, now, no, 5 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. And then I think I just got to a point, I was like, you know what? Let me stop trying to play God. Let me get my hands out of this. And just like that, within 30 minutes or 20 minutes, the baby came. So I think that was one of my biggest lessons. Like, again, you can call out, you can pray, you can affirm, but just at the end of the day, know that God's plan is going to take priority. And that was a great reminder for me.
The question wasn't for me, but I do want to say that I feel like God really reminded me. Like one thing I thought was the only way out is through. That's one thing I thought. Like just stick it through. Like the only way out is through. Like you feel like you're so far in after all those hours that it's like I'm birthing this child no matter what because I put up with all of this.
Yeah.
So, how does it feel knowing that your wife created such a beautiful blessing, and how do you view your wife now, knowing what her body went through?
Let's come to sit because it's getting a little uncomfortable to sit. But I mean, I'm so proud of Robelsiec, honestly. She thought I'd stop loving her for the first 48 hours after the baby arrived.
If I told you guys why, you would understand.
What just happened? Like, how do you think I'm gonna just immediately fall out of love with you? So no, I'm incredibly proud of her, man. I honestly, I think throughout the entire birth, and knock on wood, but she never had a crazy urge or craving. And again, all of those stories that you hear in a lot of ways. Pregnancy. Yes. Yeah, sorry. That's what I meant. For the 9 or 10 months, I was never, I never had any of those experiences. As a matter of fact, I think we got closer to each other throughout that whole time because we started to really work as a team and we trusted each other more than ever before. And that alone, I think, is probably the best type of relationship to be in, a relationship where you trust each other, you're working together, you believe, in what you're trying to accomplish. And that was a blessing. So yeah, I love you more today than I did back then, honestly.
Thank you. Love you too. How many kids do you want?
So I'm an only child.
They should have asked me that, not you.
Right, that's true. But I'm an only child. I really love family. Like for me, family is after God and health, because I learned my lesson around those two things as well. Family definitely is at the top of the list. So I would like to say minimum 3.
Yeah, that question is a little rough to answer when you're only 2 weeks postpartum.
Minimum 3, yeah. God willing.
God willing. Yeah, it's what God wants. If you guys know, our experience is really what God wants at the end. Um, was there ever a time during labor when you wanted to go to the hospital? For me, no.
No, not my desire to go to the hospital. Again, it was just about health, right? Understanding the health precautions. So there was something, I don't know if you shared that about the whole, maybe
GBS?
not. Yeah.
I did share.
Oh, okay. So yeah, so about the whole, her water breaking at so early throughout the birth, it was, okay, what's the challenge
Protocol,
here?
yeah.
So that was the only reason. But other than that, and I don't even think that was really going to be my decision. Even when the antibiotics and that decision was brought upon us, I asked her first, like, it's her body. So, for me, I just want to be mindful of people, of not just people, it's not like but I wanted her to have say in what happens to her body, because at the end of the day, it's her body. So, yeah.
A lot of people ask, how are you feeling? That's so nice.
Dads are neglected. I just got to say that real quick. Like, first off, moms, y'all are incredible, and I'm not downplaying this by any stretch of the imagination, but I think active dads, caring dads, present dads, dads who have the desire to be dads, and especially first-time dads, there should be more of an effort to include and care for them throughout the process. I think that I probably overextended myself a little bit. And then I realized, oh, wait, rightfully so. But all of the care and attention goes to the mom because of this intense labor that she's just been through, or this intense experience. And so you think that you're going to receive some level of help to recover, but you don't. You're kind of on your own. So at first, I felt exhausted. And that's why I was like, all right, I need a couple of days to just rewind, recalibrate. Mind you, a week later, I started fasting, or 2 weeks later, something like that. We enter the fast, which really puts your schedule upside down. So I feel a lot better today. Like I said, I'm a nature of habit. I don't know how it goes, but I love this. I think me and Robelsiec make a great team, honestly, and I'm not just saying that. I literally told you that today in the kitchen. And I love when it's just us, like, sorry, mom, aunt, and all of you family people who we love. But I love us, I love us. And I think I was saying that I want to be a dad.
Yeah, my mom said you're doing so well or something like that, and thank you for taking care of my daughter. And you said,
Yeah.
You said I didn't want the title. I wanted actually to be.
Yeah, I want to be a dad. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't something that I'm hoping to get out of or sneak out of, or, whatever. It's like, no, I want this. I wholeheartedly am looking forward to this. So, yeah.
If you could teach your daughter one life lesson, what would that be?
I mean, the importance of God, I can't downplay that. I think to know that life is so much easier when you do life with God, that is it takes such a burden off of you. And, I got a long list of lessons that I hope to teach her, and hopefully her and her siblings too, because I mean, over a lifetime, we hope to have some more children, but definitely that's number one is to have a relationship and to acknowledge God. That's incredible.
After seeing Robelsiec deliver your daughter, do you view her in another way?
Another way? No, I mean, no, because I feel, and I tell Robelsi this all the time. I didn't need her to do something for me to appreciate her more. So I know a lot of people might have expected me to answer yes to that question and say, oh my God, yeah, she's like Superwoman now. She was Superwoman before. Like, I remember her like beating guys at a CrossFit competition. Legit. This was before we were married. So yeah, she was Superwoman before. I mean, honestly, there's another level of bond that I hope for us to explore. And it's still early. I don't even think we're there yet. Like, I don't think we fully embraced where we're at, how we're going to navigate the next stage of our relationship. I think it's too early to say. And so I hope that we continue to bridge that gap and embrace where we're at. But yeah, I don't see her any differently because I've always put her at a pretty high light in my eyes.
Thank you. There was a lot, by the way, you said that people neglect that. There's a lot of people saying, how are you? How are you? How is daddy doing? How's dad feeling? What did you feel? When did you feel the wow, I'm a dad moment? Although it may have happened many times. No, although it'll happen many times.
Yeah, I think definitely. So the first night she slept in my arms. I don't know if you remember that.
I don't remember.
Yeah, so the first night she slept in my arms. By the time everyone left, it was about 4 a.m. Maybe later. I don't remember, but it was pretty late. And
I couldn't sleep. Like my body was so tired, but I was so awake. I couldn't believe everything that had just happened.
yeah, yeah. So she slept in my arms, and I think having her in my arms, for that couple of hours was definitely whoa. Okay, like
I'm a dad.
dad did.
Okay, someone asked, this is not for you, but I'll answer it here. What meditation app did you use? I used the Gentle Birth Hypno app. Gentle Birth Hypno app. Please teach her Arabic. I wish my grandpa taught us Arabic.
Yeah, we're speaking to her in all 3 languages. I am dedicated to doing that. I'm also not biased towards just the languages that I speak. So, there are times where if I know a phrase in Spanish, I will repeat it in all 3 languages. So I will say it in Arabic, English, and Spanish, just so that I'm not showing favoritism to only the language that I want. So yeah, we're dedicated to all 3 languages though, for sure.
What are some of your worries after being a first-time dad?
I just think that, so interestingly enough, in our relationship, I thought we were going to have a lot of outside influences and a lot of outside opinions because it's a very unorthodox type of relationship. But we didn't really get too many outside opinions as it relates to our relationship through to the baby and our relationship now. I'm starting to see a lot of those opinions peek in a lot more. So for me, that's a big red flag because, like I said before, I wanted to be a dad, or I want to be a dad. And so I plan to be very active in the decisions and what we do with our life. And, I don't know. I feel like I sound very mean, but I'm just not really open to outside opinions. None, like very little. And also, and I don't feel that comes off. I don't feel like I'm saying that in an arrogant way because I'm also studying and educating myself about the different phases of fatherhood. And again, like I look at them as 2 different things. There's fatherhood, there's the relationship you have with your child, but then there's the relationship you have with your spouse after kids or a child, which is different. And I feel the difference. Do you feel the difference?
Yeah, for sure.
So there's a difference, and that's new to me. I've never been here before. So there's a little bit of concern, like, okay, hold up. One, I'm not happy or open or welcoming of any outside opinions, but I also am a little concerned about, just our relationship too. Like, okay, let's make sure we tighten this thing up.
Which we worked so hard on because we were both, I mean, a lot of people, before I knew anything about, the culture, the Egyptian culture, let's say, I thought it was so different. And there's more similarities than differences, actually. The things that are different, they're very different. But for the most part, like core values of things are very similar. So we had to work hard on just like, we're raised, I'll speak for like Spanish, like we're raised very like, what would fulanita say and what would this and what would that? And we had to really lock eyes and even to get to this point, and even to get to marriage, we had to both be like, okay, we're a family. Like we gotta lock us, him and I. And then the other things come. And it doesn't mean that we care less about someone or that we're not open to certain consejos. How do you say that? Like when somebody's advices, right, from people that we care about, but we have to make a decision between us. So
Yeah, no, I mean, I will say this too, and I'm not talking bad about any of our family members in either side. I think we're blessed to have an incredible family, but it's just, it's different because, at the end of the day, you marry your spouse. Which, by the way, it's interesting because I've gotten advice before that you don't just marry your spouse, you marry their families too, which sounds a little bit more like I could see the fine line in that. But just for me personally, it's like, yeah, no, it's different.
how does it feel to be married to a Latina, like different culture and background? I think.
Listen, at the end of the day, I don't, so I'm very, I have a ton of compassion and empathy towards people, period, just in general, simply because 1% of my friends are Muslim, Middle Eastern, right? 1%. And so my entire life, I've done life with people who are not like me, 99% of the time, literally, if not more. So for me, it's easy. It's not difficult because number one, we put communication at the top of the pedestal. I think that's incredibly important. A lot of the challenges that come up at any moment between whoever they are, it's usually because it's just misinterpreted. One person means one thing, but there's a language barrier. And so they didn't know how to communicate in the language that the other person understands. And so that was interpreted differently. And then boom, before you know it, there's a whole blowout. And once you get someone to interpret, it's like, wait, what were you trying to say? And what did you say? Oh, you guys were saying the same thing. It's like, oh, really? Yeah. Right. So I think it's not difficult, but communication is very, very important.
Yes. Expectations versus reality from that POV point of view.
That's a tough question. What does that mean? Like, well,
I guess some things that you expected that it would be like fatherhood and then the reality of it.
I didn't
I
have
think
any.
so far that what we
Yeah.
expected is what we're getting.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, I didn't put too many expectations. I just affirmed that I wasn't going to have a bad experience of what was described. Like I don't even want to talk about what she's doing now because I want to continue to cover our candle, as I've been saying. But yeah, no, I don't. Yeah, we're blessed.
There's a few religion questions here that I personally don't have. I don't think we both have an answer to yet. So those would be unanswered. And to close it up, this is saying low battery. One said, and I'll answer this: will your baby be raised more Arabic than Dominican? I think both of our goal is for it to be raised equally Arabic and Arabic is a language, by the way. I think equally Egyptian and Dominican. I want her to be proud to say that she's both, and I want her to know both of our cultures, and for us to travel to both Egypt and Dominican Republic, and for her to know both of the languages and of both cultures. Like I want her to equally know both. And I think Mustafa shares the same desires.
Yeah, I'll tell you my stance on that for those who are curious. My whole thing about this is I never want to raise a child to have to choose between mom and dad or to have any level of confusion about their own identity. So my decisions are always clear about that. Like that takes priority. If what I'm going to do is going to create any conflict or separation for the child to choose between mom and dad, and then for them to one day have to question their identity, look, we live in an imperfect world. Will that happen? I'm sure to some extent it may, right? I don't want to, again, affirm something that doesn't have to be true because I do believe there is a way to raise your children where they're absolutely certain of who they are and they don't have to seek outside validation. So that's the difference. So that's my number one goal, with that across the culture. It's like, yeah, we'll embrace cultures, but we also live in America. So like that's the thing that and I know some people who are listening to this, whether they're from the Middle Eastern part of the world or Latin America, they might say like, how dare you? Like, you're a traitor. It's not, but you have to upgrade your learning systems and your perspective of the world so that you're raising your children to succeed in the society in which they live in. So I can raise my child to be as all Egyptian as I want. Guess what? They don't live in Egypt. And at least for now, into the foreseeable future, we don't plan on moving to Egypt full time. And so those are the things that I think logically, as I just think about it from the seat that I sit at today, being a dad of 16 days, that's my decision. Could it change down the line? Look, anything can happen, but that's just how I see it right now.
We could literally watch this whole podcast a few years from now and laugh so hard.
Like, you dummy. You're so stupid. Which I'm okay with. Like, that's the beautiful part about, I think, both of our development is that we're at a point in our lives where outside opinions don't really matter. Like, none. Like, oh, cool. I respect it.
And we'll end it with, hopefully this gives you guys a little from the religion stand for it. It says, was your family against being non-Muslim? Do they expect your wife to revert? No. I feel very welcomed. I feel very accepted. I've learned a lot about the religion. I respect the religion a lot. And I definitely have participated in, some of the practice that they do. And I think is beautiful. And no, I feel very accepted by his family. And I'm very grateful for that too, because you hear vice versa from both sides. Like, it doesn't only have to be his family. It could have been my family not accepted of his side. I think both at the end saw how much we cared for each other and how we weren't just hopping into this, but we're responsible about it. And I think at the end of the day, one thing Mustafa's mom says, like, you love my son. So, of course I'm going to love you for it. So, and I think the same for my mom, seeing how he cares for me. Like, we were literally in the car and she was like, thank you for taking care of Robelsie. And I think having a daughter now, of course you want what's best for your kids. And what's best was you and I.
Facts.
That was it, y'all. That's enough. That's 42 minutes.
There it is.
Any last words? Because I closed it out with a saying and I forgot to say it last time.
What was your saying?
Be kind
to yourself and others. Hey.